Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening for our Year 12 information evening. This is obviously a very, very important year for our young people and for you as parents as well. So we really want to take this opportunity to just chat to you a little bit about some of the things that we need to do this year to support our young people to do as best as they possibly can, and also maybe update you on some of the changes that have arisen since the COVID pandemic has kicked in and what changes might happen this year. So format for tonight is that Mr. Donaghy is going to share a little bit about what's going to be happening in terms of careers and information that's important there. I'll share a little bit about revision, and then Mr. Watson will close with some updates on things moving forward. So as you'll be aware, and I apologise that you'll see a smaller version of us as we go forward here, but as you'll be aware, this is very much a partnership arrangement, and it's essential that it is a partnership arrangement throughout this year. So it's about schools supporting you as parents, supporting our young people, and then obviously parents supporting schools, supporting the young people. And we all then work together, and therefore we build a stable base for our young people. And we don't apologise for bringing you as parents in, because you're essential, and we encourage you to do the best that you can. And we know it's really not easy. A lot of us are parents ourselves, and the challenges of getting young people to study and to realise the importance can often be difficult. So at this stage, I'm just going to hand over to Mr. Donaghy, who's going to take you through some information on careers. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Bingham. In relation to, I suppose, Year 12 and careers becomes very important, as this is the next key transition period as we plan throughout this year to move towards post-16 and to take a look certainly at the options as we move towards post-16. It's important that, you know, not only do we achieve well at the end of Year 12, but also that those GCSEs and equivalent qualifications can lead to the next stage in your careers journey. I'm going to work through a number of slides just that would have, we would have looked with Year 12 in terms of various key decisions that you need to make, and what the careers department and the advisors from the career service can help with, you know, with our Year 12 throughout this particular year. It is a very different year. It's a year where, you know, some things that would normally happen will probably not be able to happen, and we're still in that situation where we're not fully aware of all of the things. I know one thing certainly that won't happen this year, or that we can't, just due to the amount of work and time that has been lost in Year 11 in terms of study, will be work experience. But many of the things in careers we hope to still be able to run. You know, the first initial stage through My Computer and into Curriculum Links, there was an application for careers guidance. I know, having spoke to the career service, that a number that our careers advisor intends to start individual interviews with Year 12 by the end of September, and I'm hoping that certainly most students will have submitted their online application by that stage. So there's certainly advice and guidance is available. It's also important that we start to build those employability skills, because many of our students will have interviews for post-16 study either at NRC, NWRC, or right indeed across number of schools in the area for post-16 A levels. We start to look at your personal career planning. We get that Plan A and Plan B, and it's important that students understand what they want to do in terms of their career and what's the best pathways to do that. Many of them will have fairly sound grounding already, but it's just a matter of getting that on paper and starting to then make the applications in the second term. It's about making an informed decision, and it's about making sure that you are definitely, that informed decision has been based on relevant research where you have explored jobs and are aware of them. As I've already said, work experience this year is not going to go ahead. However, I would still suggest that if there's an option for some part-time work or over the holidays this year where you can actually do a couple of days, I would certainly recommend it. The one thing I will say to you is that work that is not through school will not be insured through the school, but if you can get a bit of work experience, it always looks very well on an application form. In term one, we will be certainly looking at careers guidance, and during classroom lessons, we will be very strongly working towards the aspect of getting that personal career plan together with your plan A, plan B, and really starting to take note of, you know, the different qualifications that you should leave here with and what you will need to leave here with for various pathways. Term 2 becomes a fairly strong careers a year. So after careers aspect of the year, once you get to term 2 and after Christmas, we start looking at compiling, you know, you'll have a number of mock results. We hopefully at this stage, we don't know, but we may still be able to run an interview skills day. That'll all depend on the current pandemic situation at that stage. We start to fill in progress file documents, and applications become key for post 16 at NRC online, and visits to other post 16 schools and other providers start to open up from about February, March onwards. That is the key part in term 2, and it is very much because at the end of the day, after term 2, we move into term 3 after Easter, and you're here a very short time after Easter until you're off on study leave in a normal year. For me, the key for careers is really that all students will make an informed decision. It's important that you are aware of the, you know, what you need to do, what you need, where you need to apply, how you need to go about that, and that will be certainly delivered through careers classes. And remember, if you want to make a success of your career, you need to make a good success in terms of the qualifications you leave with. It's all about achievement, and that achievement allows you to open up many more pathways as well. So it's making sure we're all different, we're all individual for a reason, but not only that you know what you want to do and you know what you need to do to get there. Just briefly, looking at post 16, sometimes we talk about levels, and I feel sometimes parents maybe don't fully understand, but as a student who leaves here with 5 GCSE A to C grades or equivalent qualifications like our Princess Trust or OS qualifications, our BTEC qualifications, 5 GCSEs A to C is equivalent of being a level 2 student. So most pupils should therefore be progressing to level 3. And the options at level 3 are really A levels. We would love to say 2 A levels here at Ballymoney High School. I don't think that's likely to be the case this year, so we're probably looking more towards A levels in other schools. I know certainly looking at this year's leavers data, we have students who have left to go to Ballycastle High, who have left to go to Dalriada, who have transferred to North Coast Integrated College, and as far as Dominican as well. So there's quite a number. The vast majority of our students still attend NRC, Ballymoney, Ballymena, Coleraine, right across a spectrum of subjects, including engineering, sport, business, ICT, applied science. And it just depends, I suppose, on you as to whether you are very clued in and you know the particular pathway that you want to travel to, or whether you're still thinking, should I go to another school, pick 3 A levels, should I still keep my options open? When you transfer directly to the further education side, you still can access university and a degree, but your qualifications at level 3 are in one sole subject area. So those are all, that's all information that I will certainly pass on and have been with our Year 12s and careers, and it's something that they just need to get around. There are options of training and apprenticeships. They may be thin on the ground this year. It just depends on, you know, the opportunities. I certainly know that there has been a number of students who left us in August who made that decision to go straight to employment. I always am wary of that, that as a decision early on in the year, because it may be one in which, there are lots more, there are certainly options, and we can join the world of work soon enough. And it is important sometimes, and difficult when people start to earn money, to revisit learning and go back to the college later in life. So I would try to hold off and certainly look at something maybe work related, like an apprenticeship, which is linked to earning money, but is linked to a qualification. There are lots of options. It's picking the right option that's right for you. And most of the options and applications are not required until February in your year 12. And hopefully by that stage, we will have made quite a number, as together have made informed decisions regarding your individual future. Just in summary, and there's a number of websites on the screen, the nidirect.gov careers website, there's lots of useful information, and a number of our further education colleges such as Northern Regional College, Northwest Regional College and CAFRA, which takes in Greenmount, Loughrea and the Enniskillen Equine Centre, if you want to do some further research. What I can suggest to you is that we will certainly be starting the interviews fairly, over the next number of weeks. And once a week, there will be a number of students we would like to get our way, work through those interviews fairly soon. I can't tell you exactly when applications are likely to proceed, in terms of applications for post-16 courses. But what I can, and I can't confirm that interview skills days and so on will be able to happen, but we will try and do our best to accommodate in the current climate as to what we can in relation to careers. What I would like to say to parents is, look, if you feel you would like some additional support, or if you would like some additional advice regarding your son or daughter's career pathway or decision, or you feel you would just like some clarity as to what I have mentioned, feel free to buzz the school and give us a ring here. And if you can't speak to me directly, leave a message and I'll certainly return your call. I would like us all, parents, pupils and ourselves as staff and school, to be fully au fait with what this year is going to bring. And not only that, but to fully understand that we're all in this together to for you to be fully informed and reach success in not only your results in August, but also success in the career pathway or the course that you've decided to choose. And if a wee bit of clarity from me on a one-to-one basis would help, I am more than happy to assist. I'm now going to hand you back to Mr. Bingham to take you through some more details regarding this year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Donegie. Appreciate you taking time to share that information about careers with the parents and our young people. So where we are now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about where we are now and just making sure that we are preparing ourselves for this year. Now, this is a slide that we would have shown last year, looking at the fact that we would be halfway through the course, that a number of modules would have been completed in exams, and that a lot of our coursework deadlines would have passed. Now, that's not quite the case this year, and we're going to look at that in a little bit. Things are slightly different, and we have to make sure that we've got more work to be done in year 12 than would maybe have been normal, and that's very important. So just notice, and I'll talk later on about the fact that we have our study leave starts on the 10th of May. And so we'll be looking at that. Now, that is the date that we plan for the minute, but again, that's one that we have to watch and see how that goes. And then Mr. Watson will be talking to you in a little bit about some of the new information that we have as regards what units are being assessed and what work is being done for this year. So moving on. And I want you to start thinking a little bit about what success is and what success would be for your young person, or if you're the year 12 pupil listening as we move through. What did it look like this past year for us? Well, we had 98% of our pupils got 5 or more grades between A star and C in the GCSEs. We had 68% of them getting the 5 or more, and including their English and Maths, and that's the really big one, because that's the one that will give you the rite of passage to go and study at level 3 whenever you move on to your next onto tech or onto another school. So very, very important. We also had a big increase in the number of pupils getting 7 or more A star to C's, and that was up to 75%. So that was success for us as a school last year, but also it's about individuals and you meeting your targets, and are those targets what you need to get when you open that envelope in August? Is that what you needed? Is that what will get you and obviously be success? And there's a few things in this slide just worth looking at in order to try and avoid the disappointment. Things that you need to do. You need to be dedicated, you need to work hard, get into good habits now, make some sacrifices, be persistent, keep going, and you will be successful. And this year we'll have to approach it slightly differently, but there's no doubt about it, the same things apply. So the deadly D's, what to avoid, and this can sound like a very negative slide. I don't mean it to be. I think maybe if you turn it around a little bit and try and put the word don't in front of some of these, try and turn them into a positive. Don't delay. You need to start thinking about your exams now. They're coming, and there's going to be more of them potentially this year than previous year 12s would have had to do, because of more modules coming in and so on. So don't delay, get working for it now, be aware that it is now. Don't be in denial. If the results haven't gone so well for yourself, then don't think, oh, it'll be okay at the end of the day. You need to think, what do I need to do to get that C or that B or whatever it has to be. Distractions, and I'll look at these a little bit more, but don't be brought down by distractions, things that you're doing all the time. You need to let some things go. And that might be a job, that might be a boyfriend or girlfriend or time with them. Things like that. It's not about maybe getting rid of them. It's about just how you manage them and going on. Don't just drift. If you drift along and think, oh, I'll be okay, as I mentioned earlier, then you'll end up where you'll not get noticed and things will not happen for you, and you will end up on the last one where you'll be disappointed, and I want to avoid that. Really very important that we can avoid being disappointed. So don't be disappointed in August. So as parents, then what do we do to encourage our children to do well? Well, avoid those deadly D's, reduce panic. Okay, so there's no point in panicking. I know that we may be concerned about off the back of last year, but we have to take this nice and steadily, calmly, evaluate everything, make sure we know what to do and how to prepare. And then it means exams reflect on what they can do, not what they didn't bother to do. So what can be done? And we'll move on from that. And then help them to identify areas where there's maybe problems. And very important that we all do that, and you as parents try to do that as well. So it's a little bit about talking to them and having those conversations at the dinner table when they come home from school, even maybe when you're watching something together. It's about knowing and making sure your child knows some things that are going on. So what is actually going to be tested in the exam? Maybe what has been dropped from last year, but what is going to be tested? When are these exams? And you'll start to see exam timetables coming through soon. Then you need to have those in the diary of some sort, or whatever way you work your diary. When does the exam start and how long does it last? And that's something that I will talk about here, because exam sheets come through and they quite often might be an hour and a half. And quite often we've had people turn up at 1:30 for an exam when it was actually at 9:30 in the morning, because they read the hour and a half as 1:30. So be careful how you read those. Make sure you double check phone school if you're not too sure. And then what notes and materials have they got? Where's stuff stored? Are things online? Are they in the Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams? And all those sorts of things. Can revision guides be useful? And they definitely can be, to summarize things, to fill in gaps in knowledge. So just keep those conversations going, and that continues to help. Something about Money High we've been doing for quite a few years now is when we are talking, it's about trying to keep it positive, the sort of growth mindset, or positive talks, another way of putting it. And you can see there's kind of the usual lines down the left that I'm just no good at this. I give up, but instead trying to turn that around. Well, what are you not good at? What are you missing? Can I do something slightly differently? And you'll see there's a good list. I'm just going to leave that list up there for a wee second for you just to take time just to read down through some of those. Okay, so where do we start? And that sometimes is the biggest stressor is anything about actually, I've got all this work, I've got this pile of exam dates, it's just overwhelming. So start simple. Start by making some sort of revision timetable, by making a plan. What's realistic? We talk in schools an awful lot, and businesses and so on do about SMART targets. So what is, specific, measurable, realistic, and you have the time to do it within what's going on. So the revision timetable is a great piece of kit, a really good idea. Be realistic about when your child can revise. When do you have time? And when do they learn best? Is it maybe before school? And you might think, oh, we're rushing around like mad, that couldn't happen. But do think about these things. And then, it's not just about go revise for GCSEs, but what's going on. I'll talk about this in a little bit, but go and do a past paper in technology, as I've mentioned here, or go and do one of your English questions. I know that's a half-hour question. Go and take half an hour of that. So we'll look at that again in a second. And the usual, it would probably be wrong if we didn't mention are some of our distractions, but these can be brilliant and they can be very useful, and they can actually be very well used for revision purposes, but they can cause an awful lot of distraction. And basically, when you disappear to a room to revise with your phone in your hand, you end up maybe not doing a whole lot of revision. So, the format. Please just be really, really careful about avoiding things and maybe putting them away while you go and do a half-hour English paper, and the reward is you get 15 minutes with your phone. Have a strategy with parents and pupils working with those together. And this is not always an easy one. I get that. Quite often we can be struggling to find somewhere that's a good place to study. Is it a good place to study if the TV's going in the corner of the room and other people are watching it? Is going to a quiet bedroom appropriate? Will there be other distractions there? You've got to work that out that's best for you and the young person in your house. But do think carefully about it. Try and get it where it's your space. And I know lots of different houses are laid out differently, but it's really important that it's your space. It's a good space. It's not too warm. It's not too cold. You're not going to fall asleep. But at the same time, you're not going to use up all your energy shivering. So things like that are just kind of worth bearing in mind and thinking carefully about as you go forward. Revision active, and this is a big one, and I really, from my own experience as a learner, find that I can't just sit and learn a script. Some people can, and that's fine, but for me, it needs to be active. And in fact, more people can't. More people need to keep it active. So, as I said earlier, is it a past paper question? Is it a specific topic that you're going to be looking on? And when you start to do questions and so on, how do you assess how you're getting on? So is there a mark scheme available? And we things that parents can actually do with their young people, and we'll talk about this again when it comes up, but teaching them how to do it, getting them to teach you a topic, that's a really good way of making sure that things are understood and that things are learned. So I'd encourage that. So in this slide, you see that we're looking at just ways and means to make the most of your revision time. We've talked there about things that we can be doing, and this continues on a little bit more, and you see down the bottom left, talk there about making sure that you test yourself. So young people, you should be assessing yourself. And these things have linked into a lot of what I'm saying. In the top left, we're talking about spacing our learning out, and you do that by your revision timetable. Making sure that there's purpose behind it, so that you know this is a subject that's coming up, this is the sort of things you're going to get asked in the exam room or in the exam paper. Talk there about teaching it, so down the bottom right, teach it to your mum or dad. And then a different one, and one that links into other things, but making sure you get plenty of sleep. And that can be hard when you're a little bit stressed and you're worried and you're concerned. But things like making sure that you're exercising well, eating properly, and things that help your mind and your body. And if your body's well, your mind tends to be better as well. So the two then come hand in hand. So moving on, there's obviously, we know when we're well aware that different people, and I chatted earlier about how I'm not very good at learning by just reading. I'm not a visual learner. I'm a kinesthetic learner. I learn by doing. But some people will be visual learners. And it's important to get a good grasp on what your learning style is so that you know how to revise properly. And we'll look here at some techniques. So the three main ones would be visual learners, auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners. And here's a few tips just to look at. For those who come into these different things. So if you are a visual learner, well then putting little things on post-its, sticking them on the wall, maybe summarizing your notes, which links into kinesthetic because you're doing, but it's summarizing them so you can learn them. Highlighting important key parts, using a system, a red, amber, green system for, you know it is green, you're not too sure, so in the middle amber, and red, not so sure at all. And then learning diagrams, pictures, mind maps, things to link things together. And just displaying keywords around the room, the words that are always that you're struggling to remember, putting them up around the room. For those that are more into the auditory, the listening, so coming up with rhymes, creating podcasts or recording yourself and listening back to it, testing yourself or friends, testing each other, being the teacher, and teaching somebody else, which you've listened and then you take that on somewhere else. Using raps and rhymes and verses, a little bit like the first one again, and then using music to energize and to relax and so on. So quite a few things in there. For those of us that are more into kinesthetic, you've got your PowerPoints, your vision cards, acting things out, writing down, making notes, and particularly making notes, playing a revision game, and possibly the use of the internet, design and build things, create diagrams, and then gestures and movements to demonstrate something that's happening. So there's quite a few wee tips there, and I think there's a lot of overlap. I think a kinesthetic learner still has to be looking at some of the materials as you go on. So some key dates, and Mr. Wilson's going to speak a little bit about just what we know, but we are still planning a normal year. A normal year will still look like an assessment mock one in November, on the 13th, 9th to the 13th of November. Well, then we don't think there's going to be capacity for work experience, and Mr. Donaghy's already spoken about that this year, but we will watch that space. If things change drastically, we will try and adjust to them as best as possible. There's obviously a lot of preparation has to go in for that. We would still like to host our Year 12 Parents Afternoon in some shape or form. Again, there'll be more information to follow, but that will be looking at the 8th of December. And then moving through to our second set of mocks, which would be our really up-to-date. And if you think back to last year, those mocks were the information that we had to use mock 1 and mock 2 in terms of trying to get a predicted grade. Let's hope it doesn't go back to that, but I'm just saying every assessment this year will have to be treated like it could be. It could be changes afoot, and therefore the marks that we get will be very important for us to use. We then try and have a mock results day on the 19th of April, where envelopes are given out and opened, a bit like what it is in August. And then again, we plan to go for study leave on the 10th of May. And throughout that time, and Mrs. Davis, our head of year, has prepared a booklet for you, which I'll be sharing on some of the things that are coming up, the modules and the resets and so on. It's important that you get a good look at those. So where do we go from here? Well, there's an awful lot of things obviously have to happen, and I want you to encourage your children to make the most of extra support that we have. At the minute, we haven't got extra after school revision classes up and running. We're just getting school back to normal, but that is something that we do plan to do. The library is open. There's always myself or a member of staff in school. I'm happy for your young person to come into the library and supervise. They'll be unsupervised, but they can work as long as they're behaved in the library, and there's no problem with that, and there'll be teachers about who'll get the help. So make sure you continue to ask both pupils and parents to help from teachers. If you don't understand something as a parent or not sure what's been assessed, please get on the phone and give us a call, and we'll see what we can do. So we're getting into that revision. It has to start now. I do wish you all the best. with it. As it says here in the quote, not saying it's going to be easy, but I am saying that it is worth it when you get the results in the end. It is a great feeling when you put the effort in and you know you deserve it. And come start of June, they'll all be over, and we'll be ready to move on. So listen, thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Mr. Watson's now going to talk to you a little bit about some of the changes that have happened this year. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Mr. Watson. Before I discuss a number of changes which have been forced upon us by the COVID-19 pandemic, I wanted to briefly highlight how GCSE grades have changed over the past 2 or 3 years for people who either are first-time parents through GCSE or people who have not had a pupil through the revised system. The revised system brings the traditional system of A star to G in line with the new system in England and Wales, with the introduction of the C star. You can see from the graphic on the left the previous structure, in the middle the new structure, and on the right the 9-to-1 system used in other parts of the UK. In its simplest explanation, a C star is a low B or a high C and would equate to a 5 in the English terminology. Maybe the most important thing to know is that it is a pass. I am now going to spend some time updating you on what we currently know about the year ahead. We had hoped at this point in the year we would have some more concrete information, but these are the times we're living in. For those of you who are first-time fifth-year parents, this is normally a time when we have completed modules in a number of subjects, maths, English, and a number of others. We also know when key deadlines are in place for controlled assessments. We might also take some time to review a student's subject load to identify where you may be struggling and adapt your timetable appropriately. And last school year, we had also developed an individual report outlining what had been achieved so far and what had to be done over the course of the year. But at this point tonight, we just don't know exactly what lies ahead. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused many knock-on effects to our class of 2020, but will continue to knock on and impact our current cohort, our class of 2021. These pupils have missed about 3.5 months of teacher contact time which is normally used to begin working on material for Year 12 exams and controlled assessments, time which we won't get back. SIA, our major examining body, has recently closed a consultation period on their plans for the year ahead. Ofqual have also recently launched a further consultation of some of their awarding grades which would be worthwhile contributing to if you have the time. The information coming out of these consultations is going to impact on the things we don't know about at the minute. In particular, how and when some subjects will be assessed. This will have a major impact on the roadmap for this year, but in the meantime, we plan for as much normality as possible. There are a number of potential ways this year may play out. All modules completed as normal for some subjects has been considered. Maths and English in particular, this could be the case, but as I've said, we await results from the consultation. It is also a suggestion that where a module is normally completed in Year 11, a predicted grade would be given for this based on how a student performs in a module completed in Year 12. Some subjects have suggested dropping aspects of their course in favour of completing other aspects of the course fully. Some practical subjects, this may be the case. There is so much uncertainty and speculation around all of this, but what we can be certain of is the fact that this is your GCSE year, and whatever way it unfolds, it is likely to be your last at Balmoney High School. So make the most of your time while you have it. In terms of your time here, we have created our deadline booklet to give you as much clarity as possible on what pupils and individual subjects will be expected to do on as normal a scheme of assessment as possible. This should give you, as parents and pupils, a much clearer view on what your expectations are for each subject. As we are informed of new information, some of this may change, but we will do our best to keep you informed as we are made aware. Before I finish, I wanted to give another plug for Sims Parent. We rolled it out last year in a more rushed way than we would have liked, but it is up and running and all parents are able to sign up if the school have your email address. We've used it throughout the pandemic to deliver messages, deliver reports and share updates. We have found it very useful and I hope many of you share my enthusiasm for it. If you had any issues getting set up, there is a video which we've shared on our Facebook page highlighting how to get registered. But please don't hesitate to contact the school office if this hasn't worked. They will be more than happy to help you troubleshoot your way through getting signed up. In closing, I would just like to share this quote with you. Your talent determines what you can do. Your motivation determines how much you are willing to do. But your attitude determines how well you do it. This year will be a strange year. We know that. We also know that although something might be agreed upon, it may change. It is vital that our attitude stays positive through this pandemic to ensure we achieve the best we possibly can, us as teachers and you as parents and pupils alike. We must all work together in these strange times to ensure we do the best for our young people. Thank you for taking the time to watch this short video. Please check out our website for further information and specifically the deadline booklet relevant to yourselves. Thank you.